Well, good evening and welcome to the January 10th webinar with all the weather and everything else. I suppose many of you are out scooping snow or whatever, and maybe this will give you a little break and you can enjoy a little time away. And hope you had a great holiday and a happy New Year. Thanks for everything you do. We really appreciate it. And with that, I'm going to move ahead. So we've got some specific rules that we've been asked about and some questions, and just kind of wanted to cover those. And we'll get into some videos here in a little bit, and hopefully you'll find those enjoyable. First of all, the new foul per period rule change. Just remember, it's on the fifth foul, we're going to shoot two. And the overtime is an extension of the fourth quarter. So if we have five personal fouls in the fourth quarter, we're going to start right out with five. We're not going to start over. So don't get caught there. I got a question about a fouled out player who was frustrated and ripped his jersey out of his shirt. And the question was, is it an automatic technical foul? It's not an automatic technical foul, but it is. My apology. Uh, yeah, I apologize. I didn't realize I wasn't sharing my screen, so my apology. I will start over here. Um, Again, we've been getting some specific questions that we wanted to review. The first one is the new fouls per period. Just remember, we're five fouls, then we're shooting two, five common fouls, five team fouls. We're going to shoot two. So not necessarily five common fouls, but five team fouls. We're going to shoot two on each quarter. The overtime is an extension of the fourth quarter. So if we have five fouls in the fourth quarter and then we go to overtime, we're just going to keep on going. So that whole overtime, we're going to shoot two. Question was asked about a fouled out player who rips his jersey out in frustration. Is it an automatic technical? It is a technical foul for doing that. There are players who take their jersey out as they go to the bench. It's not automatic. It's not required. You have to use your own judgment, but you certainly can rule a technical foul when that happens. Kind of wanted to go into what some of the observers are seeing and telling us, and maybe some thoughts and some insight. They're telling us that hand checking and bumping dribblers still continues to be an issue. So get them off those dribblers and make them play defense. Continue to work on your pregame discussions. One thing you should be talking about in your pregame discussion is postgame. When the game is over, when the horn sounds, what's the end of game procedure? Make sure that you designate which clock is going to be your official clock. Is it going to be the little clocks above the basket, or is it going to be the big clock on the wall? Double check and make sure that you know which clock you're using is the official clock for the night. And then we'll have some videos on this here in a little bit, but screening, what is legal and what is not? Get into your rule book and take a look at legal screens and illegal screens. I think you'll enjoy the video here in a minute. And then continue to use clear, effective signals and mechanics. Good signals on fouls and violations. On your timeouts, we need to slow down and see the players to their respective benches. Stay engaged. Make sure all those players get to their benches while you're watching and paying attention. And then if you need to huddle and talk about something, then take the time to do that. Use your preliminary signals on fouls and violations. And always use a preliminary signal. It's your communication. It's the way you share your information. And don't forget our 4 designated throw-in spots. We're doing a really good job with that. Just keep doing it. And here's a note that I got from an impartial observer who's extremely experienced. And his comments are: be more patient with your whistles and see the entire play. Way too many one and ones. And then it kind of slows the game down and it's not really good. So really see the entire play and make the play happen before you put air in your whistle. And they're seeing coaches on the floor. This particular observer says, I can't believe how many coaches are on the floor coaching, like both feet well in bounds, live ball and dead balls. You know, we just need to ask them to get back and stay off the court if they're getting out on the court. So pay attention to those benches. I know you don't want to monitor them, but that's what we need to do. We don't need to explain the rules. We're spending way too much time explaining things to all participants, and we don't need to do that. If you want to listen and respond, give them some time and then get out. Now, this observer said, give them the time that they need and then get out. You might say this observer said, use the 3 Bs. Be brief, be bright, and be gone. Do that. Officiate, listen, and then do the job that you're supposed to do. And with that, I am going to try to get these videos up here. All right, this one's on hand checking.
The hand check foul in general tends not to be a very popular call to make. Maybe it's because many consider it a game interrupter, or maybe it's because the words hand check.
Oh, man.
Cannot actually be found written in the rules book, except for in the signal chart. But if we go to the very last rule in the rules book, under Article 12 of contact, we will find 4 very specific restrictions referring to this hand check signal. So let's do just that and review together hand checks. Roll.
Is it going? Can't tell.
It's not going. It's stuck.
Yeah.
It's stalled.
What am I doing?
I don't know.
Okay.
I would just keep hitting that play button.
Okay, if I hit you are screen sharing, it says you are screen sharing.
I can see the screen fine. It's just not, the video's not playing.
Okay, how about now?
Clips.
There.
Still?
In our first play,
Can
we
you see
see the
it?
dribbler make a move toward the lane with his defender guarding him closely when the official blows his whistle and calls a hand-checking foul on the defender. Let's zoom in and take a closer look. As the offensive player starts his move toward the basket, we notice the defender reaches out with both hands and contacts the dribbler for only a moment or two. According to Rule 10.7.12, placing two hands on a ball handler constitutes a foul, and the amount of time or effect it had or didn't have on the dribbler's movement should not be a factor when making this ruling. Let's watch that again. Our next play starts with the defensive matchup on the sideline, and as the offensive player makes his way toward the end line, the official stops play and calls a hand-checking foul on the defender. But did he actually put his hand on the dribbler? If we zoom in and examine closer, we'll see the defender in fact did not actually use his hand, but instead extends his forearm onto the torso of his opponent. This is what is referred to as an arm bar in the rules book and is an illegal act against the ball handler and therefore correctly being ruled as a hand check by the official. Go ahead and watch that one again. In our next play, we watch a player receive the ball and with the defender in his back, slowly move his way around the post to attempt a shot. Looking at this play closer, we witness the defender place and keep his hand on the dribbler all the way up to the moment he attempts his shot. But since this player is in a post position, backing his way in, this hand placement is not illegal, right? Wrong. The rules book is quite clear, explicitly stating that a ball handler includes a player in the post position. So this action by the defender is indeed illegal contact and should be ruled a hand-checking foul. Here it is one more time. In our last play, a dribbler is up by the division line, juking back and forth when the official calls a holding foul against his defender. Let's zoom in and analyze what happened. As the offensive player moves back and forth, trying to evade his opponent, we notice the defender reaches out and touches the dribbler once, twice, 3 times. Multiple touches on a ball handler, regardless of whether it is the same hand or alternating hands, is illegal contact and should be ruled a foul. It is important to note, if a hand check occurs, we should use the hand check signal. By using a different signal, like a hold, a push, or a block signal, it gives coaches, players, and fans the wrong information about why the foul was called, and in turn prevents them the ability to make the appropriate changes to avoid a similar foul moving forward. Let's go ahead and watch that play one last time. There you have it, a complete and comprehensive review of hand checks. Now you know.
There's one simple vision hack.
Now we'll go on to screening.
You can say goodbye to your optometrist for
I'm
good.
sorry,
You know that
for some
visually-
reason I cannot blow these up
And
and
ready
they
to
won't
take on the
show,
next topic,
so
talking
I'm just gonna
about
leave them small.
screens. Screening plays, officials need to consider many factors. Was the screener within their own vertical plane? Did they allow enough time and distance for their opponent? Was it set in or outside the player's visual field? Finding the right answer to these questions can be difficult, especially during a game when the play can happen so quickly. So let's go over some video right now and review a few of these difficult plays on screens. Roll those clips. Our first video, we will focus on red 35. And as the ball is passed across the court, he sets a solid screen, successfully delaying his opponent. But was this a legal screen? Zooming in and slowing down the action, we can see that when the player establishes his screen, according to Rule 4.40.2, he must stay within his own vertical plane with the stance approximately shoulder width apart. But since this screener sticks his arm and leg outside the frame guideline, when contact occurs, affecting the defender's ability to reach his intended target, such contact should be considered illegal, and a foul has occurred. Let's watch it again. Here we see a player at the top of the key take a dribble toward his teammate, and after passing the ball to him, continues to set a screen to free up his teammate for an open look. Let's take a closer look and analyze this play. In a guarding situation against a player in control of the ball, the defender must have 2 feet on the ground and facing the opponent. But since this player passed the ball, it is no longer a guarding situation. It becomes a screening play involving a moving player. And this means, according to Rule 4.40.5, the screener shall allow the opponent time and distance to avoid contact. That time and distance, however, may vary between 1 to 2 normal steps and is determined by the speed of the player to be screened. Since this player, who is no longer a dribbler, did not give any time or distance, this contact should be ruled an illegal screen. Watch that one again. The next clip shows a player at the top of the three-point arc looking to run a play, and a teammate sets a back screen to create a backdoor cut. Legal screen, right? Let's find out. As we watch 15 White approach his defender, who for the most part is a stationary opponent, he sets his screen here, stopping just short of contact. But the position of his screen in relation to his opponent makes a difference on what the screener can do. Since he sets up directly behind and outside the defender's visual field, the screener shall allow the opponent 1 normal step backward without contact, as stated in Rule 4.40.4. Since he did not allow this 1 normal step before contact occurred, this back screen is illegal and should be ruled a foul on the offense. Here's one last replay. In our next video, the ball is passed around a few times, a player steps into a spot and sets a relatively calm screen, when an opponent causes some contact displacing the screener while trying to maintain his guarding position. The game officials allow this contact to happen, letting play continue on with no whistle. If we replay this video and analyze the action, we can see that after the screener takes a stationary position, well within the visual field of his opponent, which means according to Rule 4.40.8, that opponent is expected to avoid contact by going around the screener and may not use his hands to force through the screen in order to maintain a guarding position. So, as soon as the defensive player pushes the screen away, it becomes a foul on the opponent and play should be stopped. Just as an illegal screen should be penalized, an opponent that doesn't respect a legal screen by breaking their responsibility of the rule should likewise be penalized. Here it is again. In our last video, the ball is being brought up the back court, and when the dribbler gets to the front court, a teammate comes up to set a screen and then moves down along with the opponent in an effort to continue screening. Let's zoom in and take a closer look. As 33 White sets his screen, it appears as though he gives plenty of distance. However, when his opponent starts to move to get around the screener also moves. But if you stay focused on the distance between the players, you'll see there is never any contact other than the defender reaching out to touch the screener, and therefore cannot be ruled as illegal. Remember, the definition of a screen as written in 4.40.1 says a screen is legal action by a player who, while touching the playing court without causing contact, delays or prevents an opponent from reaching a desired position. Just because this player was moving while trying to screen his opponent, even if the player's intent is to create contact, unless contact actually occurs, it is not illegal. This play should have been ruled legal. Go ahead and watch it one last time. There it is, screen.
Now, here's one on the act of shooting. And what is continuous motion?
It's that time again. Shooting and continuous motion. Both of these rules can be quite relevant when determining whether a foul happens during a shot and whether or not to count a made basket. And since the ruling falls entirely on the official's judgment, understanding when the act of shooting begins is paramount to a proper ruling. So let's go ahead and begin our act of shooting for complete comprehension of shooting. Roll those clips. On our first clip, we see a player on a fast break go up for a layup and gets fouled along the way with the official waving off the shot, ruling the foul before the shot. Let's zoom in and analyze this play. As the player picks up the ball and heads toward the basket, we as officials need to ask several questions to determine whether or not to count the basket. The first and foremost question is, did the act of shooting begin? And this answer is not as cut and dried as we would like it to be, because according to Rule 4.41.2, a player is trying for a goal when the player in the official's judgment is attempting to throw for a goal. This means we as officials get to decide when a player is shooting the ball. This unfortunately allows for a wide latitude of opinion. So let's break down the rule and try to simplify it for a better understanding. Rule 4.41.3 tells us the try starts when the player begins the motion which habitually precedes the release of the ball. So that must mean he can only be shooting here, correct? Right before he releases the ball. Or wait, maybe it starts here as he starts to extend it toward the basket. But what about here, where he pulled the ball up to his head? Or right before that? Or before that? You get the point. Any of these points could be used as the starting point that precedes the release of the ball. But if there were no players around, would you change your starting point, or would it start the same way? Let's imagine just that. Take all the defenders away. What do you think this player is going to do? He's going to shoot the ball, right? And he's still dribbling at this point, so he can't possibly be shooting. But the moment he picks up the ball, ending his dribble, he only has two options: pass or shoot. So what is he doing at this particular moment? There's no one around to pass to, so that only leaves an attempt to throw for goal. Now add the players back. It doesn't change anything. He still only has two options and no one to pass to. So he has still started the act of shooting. It's not the shooter's fault he was fouled. He was going to perform the same shooting action regardless of whether he gets fouled or not. So in this case, the foul happened during the act of shooting. And the continuous motion rule 4.11 allows for a player to complete the usual foot or body movement. What does the player do after getting fouled? Continues to make a normal layup, just like he would if he didn't get fouled. Don't penalize the shooter for illegal contact by his opponent. This play should have been ruled a foul in the act of shooting, and applying the continuous motion rule counted the 2 points and awarded 1 free throw at the line. Let's watch it again. The next clip shows a dribbler trying to beat a double team when he makes a spin move to the bucket and gets fouled. The official waves off the shot and rules a 1-and-1. Let's zoom in and take a closer look to see what happened. As the player picks up the ball and starts to make a move to shoot, the defender grabs the arm in an attempt to prevent a shot. We can see the ball handler look over his shoulder at the basket, indicating a drive to the basket. And then, as he spins that way, actually shoots the ball, which solidifies the probability of his intention to shoot the entire time. But when did the act of shooting begin? Backing the play up, we start with the player picks up his dribble. And note the options available at this point are to pass or shoot. Even though there are available players that a possible pass could be made, we have already concluded he was planning to shoot the ball from the beginning. So using this point as the beginning of the act of shooting is a reasonable one. As the player begins to spin to get around his defender, that is when the arm is grabbed and held. But remembering the rule explicitly states that if a player is pivoting or stepping when fouled, may complete the usual foot or body movement. So this spinning action, when properly applying continuous motion, should be allowed to finish, thus making it a shooting foul. Go ahead and watch that one again. The next clip has a shot into a rebounding situation, and after multiple attempts to put the ball in the basket, a shooting foul is called by the lead. But was he shooting? Referencing Rule 4.41 again, the act of shooting begins with the start of a try or tap for goal. And a tap for goal is the contacting of the ball with any part of a player's hand, an attempt to direct the ball into his or her basket. Watching this play again, we can see the offensive player jump and tap the ball on the first bounce of the rebound. And after missing that one, goes up again for a second attempt. This time, as soon as the player contacts the ball, the defender pushes him in the back. Because this foul happened while the offensive player was tapping the ball for goal, he is considered in the act of shooting. The foul, as called by the official, was correctly ruled a shooting foul. Here's that play again. In our last video, a post player receives a pass and immediately spins and shoots the ball, but getting bumped by a defender who had jumped in the air. The official rules the foul as a shooting foul. Easy one, right? Well, let's take a better look. The offensive player is 100% in the act of shooting, and as the rule states, that act of shooting includes the airborne shooter. So even though the ball was released from the hands of the shooter, as long as that player remains airborne, any foul would be considered a shooting foul. But look a little closer, because that same airborne shooter loses shooting status once they touch the playing court, like what happens here. And since the illegal contact happens after that, the foul cannot be a shooting foul, but a simple common foul with the ball being awarded to the nearest spot out of bounds. Let's replay that one and watch it one last time. That's our coverage of shooting plays. Hopefully those examples have given a little more clarity to when the act of shooting begins and when the continuous motion applies. And next time, when you have a possible shooting foul, you'll be better prepared to rule on it more accurately. Do you have a suggestion for our next rule?
Bear with me a minute here. So that's it for the videos. Just wanted to remind you that this is Officials Appreciation Week and how much we appreciate what you all do. Officials provide participants with leadership and guidance, facilitating and ensuring that the competition is conducted in a safe and fair manner. Qualities such as integrity, honesty, trustworthiness, and respect are integral to the role of an official, and I think you all display that. So this ends the webinar. Thank you all for your efforts, and if you have any questions, don't hesitate to email them to me, and we'll try to answer them. Thanks. Have a great evening.